Today I will be talking about how to clean up your accounts receivable account. To see your accounts receivable account, we are going to go to the accounts receivable aging summary. You can see all of the customers that you have billed invoices for and what you haven't been paid on yet. That is what your accounts receivable account is. It keeps track of who still owes you money. So issues that you look for in your accounts receivable account is negatives. Negatives are the biggest red flag that something is going on with your accounts receivable account that needs to be fixed. So we are going to click on one of these and figure out why we have a negative and how we can fix it. So from this negative, we can see that it's a credit memo. Whenever there's a negative credit memo hanging out in the accounts receivable account, it's because that credit memo did not get applied to an open invoice. So I'm going to show you how you can apply a credit memo to an open invoice. First, we are going to go to the customer. Once we are on the customer's page, we can see that there is an open invoice and then a $35 credit. So we need to apply this $35 credit to the open invoice. And we do that by receiving payment on the invoice. Whenever we receive the payment, we will deposit it to undeposited funds, but we will click the credit memo, and then in the amount due, we are going to put the amount of the credit memo. And what you just saw there is whenever I put the amount of the credit memo, my amount received went to zero. And that's what it should do, because there is no actual money exchanging hands. So we are just simply applying a credit to this open invoice. This credit memo will reduce the amount of the open invoice. Instead of this customer having to pay $85, once we save and close this payment, they only now have to pay $50. And when we go back to the accounts receivable aging summary report, we no longer see that negative $35 hanging out there. So we're going to click on the next negative and see what this one is about. So this one is a deposit. So we're going to go to this customer. And when we go to this customer, we see the deposit, but there's no open invoices to apply this deposit to. This happens whenever you record something from the bank feed directly to the customer's accounts receivable account. In order to fix this, you would make an invoice for the exact same amount and then match the deposit to the invoice. Or if you don't want to make an invoice or this was done incorrectly, we can just simply change what account it's going to and change it to an income account rather than accounts receivable. Whenever you look through your accounts receivable account, you may look through here and find a customer that you know you got paid on, but for whatever reason, that invoice is not marked as paid. This could be because you didn't receive a payment on that invoice, and whenever that income came through the bank account, it got classed straight to sales. Or maybe you received payment, but it was cash. So and you didn't deposit it in the bank account. I'm going to show you how to fix both of those. So for the example with the Red Rock Diner, this is going to be an example where I know we got paid on it and I know it went through the bank account. I'm assuming that I had just accidentally classed that deposit straight to sales rather than receiving the payment on it. So in order to correct this account, we are going to make a journal entry. So my account is going to be accounts receivable, and I'm going to decrease this account, so we're going to credit it. And I always have to put a name whenever I'm dealing with accounts receivable. And then the other side of my transaction will be wherever I think this deposit went to. So in my example, I'm thinking that I just class this deposit straight to sales. The other side will be sales. And then we're going to save and close. So now all of a sudden we have the $70, but then we have another negative out here. So we need to go fix that negative. So we're going to go to the customer. And we are going to receive payment on this invoice. And whenever we do that, we see we have the invoice that comes clicked up, and then our journal entry is also clicked. So these two balance each other out, so the amount received is actually 0, which is what we want because that amount has already been received. And then from here we can just save and close. And that takes care of our open invoice and our journal entry. If you had received cash for a payment that didn't get deposited, here's how you would fix that. So for Barrett Design, I know I got paid on this invoice, but I actually got paid in cash. So we're going to go to the customer. And we're going to receive payment on this invoice. Our payment method is going to be cash. And we're going to deposit it to cash on hand. From there, we can just save and close it. And now that takes care of our open invoice, so it no longer looks like he still owes us money, and it takes it out of the accounts receivable account. And this is how you clean up your accounts receivable account. If you have any questions, leave us a comment below, and if you've learned something, like and subscribe.